Hey everyone, it's me, Stephanie Nietzsche, and thank you for joining me today on my channel. Today, I want to talk about iconic writers who were rejected because every once in a while, it's nice to have a reminder that a fabulous author, a legendary author, has been rejected. So we don't feel so alone. Now, I just want to start with, let's see. We are going to start with William Golding. He's the author of Lord of the Flies, okay? So he faced multiple rejections before his novel was published in 1954. One publisher called it an absurd and uninteresting fantasy, okay? Despite this, Golding persisted, and his book became a classic, eventually earning him the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1983. Now, many schools had that book. The class had to read it. It was mandatory reading. So yeah, there you go with that. But wouldn't it be nice if your book was mandatory reading one day? If it was that type of book, for students, for anyone that belonged in a school, in other words. Okay. Next up, we have James Joyce. Ulysses and Dubliners faced relentless rejection. Dubliners was rejected 22 times due to its controversial content, and Joyce's persistence paid off, obviously, and he became one of the most influential writers of the 20th century. And he shaped modernist literature. There you go, James Joyce. Then we have James Baldwin, the critically acclaimed author of Go Tell It to the Mountain and Giovanni's Room. He faced multiple rejections in his career, and one publisher even called Giovanni's Room hopelessly bad. Despite this, Baldwin became one of the most powerful voices in American literature. Ursula K. Le Guin. I hope I pronounced that right. Ursula K. Le Guin, or Le Guin, is probably a really fancy name, and I just can't get it right. But Ursula is one of the most important writers in the science fiction genre. I know all you sci-fi fans are going to correct me on the mispronunciation of the name, but that's okay. I want to know. An editor called her novel, titled The Left Hand of Darkness, endlessly bad. But it went on to become a groundbreaking work, earning her both the Hugo and Nebula Awards. Wow. You go, Ursula. Pearl S. Buck. Pearl S. Buck is best known for The Good Earth, the best-selling novel that earned her the Pulitzer Prize in 1932, another Pulitzer winner. Her first novel, East Wind, West Wind, received rejections from all but one publisher in New York. Then we have Louisa May Alcott. It's really incredible. Louisa May Alcott was an American author best known for her children's books, particularly the classic Little Women. And publisher James T. Fields rejected Alcott's manuscript for How I Went Out to Service, telling her, "Stick to your teaching." You can't write, Louisa May Alcott. Can you believe that? So there's a pattern here if you're picking it up. These are a lot of women now, a lot of women's names I'm dropping as rejected authors, because the next one is Agatha Christie. Yeah, Agatha. She was one of the best-selling authors of all time, and she faced numerous rejections early in her career. And her debut novel, The Mysterious Affair at Styles, was rejected by 6, not 1, not 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 publishers before it was finally accepted. And despite these setbacks, Christie went on to become the Queen of Mystery. Yay. Good thing she hung in there. And here we go again, another woman, Beatrix Potter, beloved author of The Tale of Peter Rabbit. She faced significant rejection in her early career. Publishers turned down her manuscript multiple times, dismissing it as unsuitable for children. Tired of the repeated rejections, Potter self-published in 1901, which launched her iconic career in children's literature. See, look at that. Self-publishing. Self-publishing. Do I need to say more? William Faulkner. Back to the men. The celebrated author of novels like The Sound and the Fury and As I Lay Dying faced numerous rejections in his early career. His novel Sanctuary was called unpublishable, and many editors dismissed his work as overly complex. Faulkner went on to win the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1949. I mean, these people they don't have good taste. Why are they even in that business? They let all of these iconic writers, fabulous story, slip through their fingers. I wonder if they lost their jobs from denying them, from rejecting them. Then we have May Cabot. Before reaching literary stardom with her Princess Diaries series, May Cabot faced repeated rejections. In a 2007 interview, she revealed that she kept her rejection letters in a postal bag under her bed, which became so heavy that she struggled to lift it. Look at that, Princess Diaries. And now it's a movie. Maybe even a series, I'm not even sure. Okay, Marcel Proust. Despite being one of the most influential authors of the 20th century, Marcel faced significant rejection throughout his career. After receiving 3 rejections for the first volume of Swan's Way, Proust took matters into his own hands and decided to pay for its publication himself. See? Self-published. George Louis Borges, or Jorge, Jorge. I am so sorry, I do not know how to pronounce this author's name. So we're going to stick with George Louis Borges. Renowned for his complex narratives and philosophical themes, Argentine writer George, or Jorge, faced numerous rejections, with one publisher calling his work utterly untranslatable. Borges eventually became a celebrated figure in world literature and won the Miguel de Cervantes Prize in 1979. You go, Jorge, or George. D.H. Lawrence. D.H. faced considerable rejection in his career. Women in Love, completed in 1916, was rejected by several British publishers and was only published in the U.S. in 1920. Lawrence once wrote, "I will never be ashamed of my work," and his perseverance led to his recognition as a major literary figure. Yeah, see, that's what it is, perseverance. You just have to ignore what people say if it's not what you want to hear and move on. It's really what it's all about. Reading books, it's all a matter of choice. If one person doesn't like something, that doesn't mean the rest of the world isn't going to like it. And like I always say, if you thought it was interesting enough to write about, someone is going to think it's interesting enough to read. I mean, there is some weird stuff out there that I can't make sense of, but guess what? That's just me. Other people make sense of it. Then we have Sylvia Plath. Sylvia Plath, she's the writer of The Bell Jar and one of the most successful female writers of her generation. And she received significant rejection throughout her career from literary magazines and publishers, with one even stating, "There certainly isn't enough genuine talent for us to take notice." It's incredible. And sometimes I think it's timing. Like, the world isn't ready for some of these great writers. They're just not. Okay, then we have James Patterson. James, who sold 425 million books worldwide, faced over 30 rejections for his first novel, The Thomas Berryman Number. Despite being published at 26, he didn't achieve his first bestseller until he was 40. And you know what? At 26, someone else might have said, "Hey, you know what? I'm not going to do this. Nobody likes my work." But he hung in there. And now look at him, James Patterson. Oh, I have his books on my shelves. So many people have his books, read his stories. He's constantly on TV. I mean, James Patterson, yeah. E.E. Cummings, one of the most innovative poets of his time. E.E. Cummings dedicated his self-published poetry collection, No Thanks, to the 14 publishing houses that rejected it. You go. Judy Blume. Writing on her blog, Judy Blume, author of Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, shared, "For 2 years, I faced nothing but rejections." She added that even now, she still winces when she sees one of the magazines that turned her down. Rest in peace, we recently lost Judy Blume. Rudyard Kipling. Rudyard Kipling, author of The Jungle Book, was rejected by countless publishers. One even responded saying, "I'm sorry, but you just don't know how to use the English language." And another claimed to see no genuine talent in his writing. I mean, I think maybe a lot of these people read the same authors. It was the same person. I mean, not read the same authors, but was the same person that read these various authors that gave the rejections. I think that person was talentless. Okay. Also, more up to date is when J.K. Rowling initially sent the manuscript for the first Harry Potter book to 12 publishing houses, she was rejected by all of them. Rowling's persistence paid off when a small publishing house decided to take a chance on her novel, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And look, it was a mega hit in the book world and movie world. And there's cartoons. I mean, it's really incredible. Now we have Frank Herbert. Frank Herbert's Dune has sold 20 million copies, translated into more than 20 languages, and turned into a highly acclaimed film and television adaptation. However, the novel was rejected 20 times before reaching print. See? Look who's next. Stephen King. When Stephen King was writing his award-winning novel, Carrie, he initially gave up and threw the manuscript in the garbage. He was his own rejection. He rejected his own work. However, his wife salvaged it and encouraged him to finish it. Despite its eventual success, Carrie was rejected by 30 publishers before Doubleday decided to take a chance on him. And good thing they did. I remember seeing that movie when I was a youngster. Everybody loved it. It was great. Yeah. Richard Adams, Watership Down by Richard Adams was rejected 7 times by various publishers before being published by Rex Collins in 1972. The book has since become a beloved classic and has won numerous awards. Alex Haley. Alex Haley was an American writer and journalist best known for his contributions to African American history and culture. He faced years of rejection, with editors dismissing hundreds of his manuscripts before achieving success with the autobiography of Malcolm X and Roots, the saga of an American family. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, Roots was a big thing. Everyone in school was watching it. It was eye-opening, for a lot of people. Okay, Octavia Butler. Octavia Butler faced numerous rejections throughout her career, with estimates suggesting that she submitted her work to over 50 publishers without achieving success. Butler is now a celebrated figure in science fiction, and her novel Kindred received widespread critical acclaim. Then we have Neil Gaiman. He was famed for his graphic novel series The Sandman, and as mentioned, receiving over 100 rejections for various short stories before achieving success with his first published works. Now we have Ann Dilliard. She's an author, essayist, and poet. She gained prominence with her book Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, which won the Pulitzer Prize. It is a surprise, right? When someone says, hey, they call you up and say, hey, guess what? You're going to get the Pulitzer, which won the Pulitzer Prize in 1975. Dillard received many rejections for her short stories and essays before finding success, but mentioned in interviews that her experience with rejection, while challenging, shaped her as a writer. Ray Bradbury, author of over 100 science fiction works, including the internationally acclaimed novel Fahrenheit 451, is said to have received around 800 rejections. He's the biggest so far, I think, right? The most rejections before selling his first story. His determination is often cited as an inspiration for aspiring writers. Well, certainly is an inspiration for me, Ray. Maya Angelou, American memoirist, poet, and civil rights activist Maya Angelou rose to prominence with her publication of I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Angelou faced multiple rejections in her early writing career. Although the exact number isn't widely documented, she struggled to find a publisher willing to take on her work. Last but not least, Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway's first novel, The Sun Also Rises, was rejected by several publishers before it was finally accepted. Hemingway's determination and resilience ultimately led him to winning the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1954. So like I said, every once in a while, I like bringing this up. I like to let writers know, so what if you've been rejected? It doesn't matter how many times. Look at that one author, 800 or over 800 times. It doesn't matter. You have to hang in there. You have to find someone, just like when we write a book, not every reader is interested in our story, but the ones that are, those are the readers that are going to read the book. So it's the same thing if you're seeking a publisher. Not every publishing company or publisher that reads your work is going to say, hey, I see a future here. And that's why sometimes too, you have to self-publish. If you get tired of sending out and getting rejections, I mean, it's time consuming and it's also soul crushing to a point, but don't give up. Write the story. If you want to try to go traditionally, then submit it. If not, just self-publish, because I feel as writers, we can't really make a living on our stories, right? We know that. But we just want people to read our stories. And then, you never know. One day something might happen and you may be able to make a living on your story. Just don't give up. And hopefully these authors inspired you to hang in there. So what, you get a few rejections. It means nothing. Everybody gets rejected. People go for jobs and they don't always get them, right? Does that mean it don't work for the rest of your life? All right, everyone, it's me, Stephanie Nietzsche. Thank you so much for watching. Keep writing, and I'll see you next time.